Hello and welcome to the Daily Scripture Podcast. My name is Jerome Lavelle and I hope that you are having a phenomenal day today. Today we will be looking at Mark chapter 3, verses 7 through 12. Jesus withdrew toward the sea with his disciples. A large number of people followed from Galilee and from Judea. Hearing what he was doing, a large number of people came to him also from Jerusalem, from Idumea, from beyond the Jordan, and from the neighborhood of Tyre and Sidon. He told his disciples to have a boat ready for him because of the crowd, so that they would not crush him. He had cured many, and as a result, those who had diseases were pressing upon him to touch him. And whenever an unclean spirit saw him, they would fall down before him and shout, "You are the Son of God." He warned them sternly not to make him known. Today in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 3, verses 7 through 12, we hear a description of Jesus traveling from inland toward the sea. And Mark gives us what seems like 5 simple verses summarizing events as Jesus traveled and encountered people on those travels. However, as I read and reflect on the verses that are given today, I hear the messages of seeking and silence. Seeking and silence. In looking at the scripture, 2 points stood out to me. First, Mark's detailing the city names might seem a bit random. He said people came from Jerusalem, from Idumea, beyond the Jordan, from Tyre and Sidon. Did they really come from those cities only, I ask myself? Well, one reference I read said that these towns represented points on a compass, north and south and east and west, and thus I think what Mark was saying is that people were coming from everywhere to see Jesus, that Jesus' impact and the buzz that he was creating permeated the entire region. And it was from those vast crowds that Jesus was retreating from when he got into the boat. Remember, it said, so that they would not crush him. Now, in my mind, I can picture this loud and rowdy crowd. I feel the energy of these people as they sought out Jesus, perhaps hands and arms reaching forward as if wanting to touch him. I see the dust and the passion of these people seeking an encounter with Jesus. But the question is, what kind of encounter? A second point I see today is one of silence. From the first line of the verses we read, we hear the following: Jesus withdrew toward the sea with his disciples. He withdrew toward the sea. Then later we hear of his retreating into that boat. So Mark gives us the image of Jesus needing to create appropriate space from the crowds. In some ways, I see Mark telling us that Jesus needed some Jesus time. And even though he was God himself, he needed silence. Now, in reflecting on these 2 elements, I see this silence and the seeking being connected. My guess is that most of the people chasing after Jesus were motivated by his physical healings, his miracles. They wanted him to cure them. They were desperate for physical relief. Now, that's not a bad thing. Jesus had compassion for people, and the scriptures are full of his miracles of healing and physical healings. But many, no doubt, that day in this crowd that Mark is describing were focused on what they could get from Jesus. In this way, what can you do for me, big guy, was their motivation. A question, is this the way that I approach or seek or crush in on Jesus? Only when I need a miracle or when I need a problem fixed? Do I come to him in desperate times only, where I have the solution all figured out if Jesus will only cooperate? And it strikes me that this is where the seeking and the silence come together. Indeed, it's great for us to seek Jesus. He tells us throughout the Scripture to seek him. We see this in Matthew chapter 7, seek and you will find. In Jeremiah chapter 29, you will seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart. And then in Matthew 6, seek first the kingdom and his righteousness. But what I'm connecting in today's verses is the how we seek after Jesus. And I'm not saying that we should not pursue Jesus with passion. On the contrary, I hope Jesus sees my passion for him. But what Mark shows us is that the Son of God took time to retreat, to be still, to find quiet time in his mission. Even when people were chasing after him, he retreated for some stillness. Psalm 46 tells us, be still and know that I am God. And then again in Isaiah chapter 30, we hear, in quietness and trust shall be your strength. What I'm hearing in Mark chapter 3, verses 7 through 12 today is this notion of seeking God with passion, but in stillness and in silence. That God does want us to want him, but not to chase after him like some sort of vending machine. Put a prayer in and get a need or a desire out. I'm hearing him say to me, seek me in silence with a passionate, humble, and listening heart. Today, I'm thinking a lot about seeking and silence in my walk with God. Thank you for joining the Daily Scripture Podcast. My name is Jerome Lavelle, and remember, our word of the day is seeking Jesus in silence. Until next time, be well and be blessed.